You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig. Kathy will probably not be joining us for at least a few more days, if not a week. She's recovering from her surgery. Okay, now this is an absolute amazing story. Ron DeSantis, the greatest governor ever, my governor that I met a week and a half ago, one of our sponsors, Wings Plus in Coral Springs here in Ron DeSantis's Free Florida, has run the Democrats out of Florida. This is beautiful, beautiful. And I've been talking the last few weeks, I've been telling you guys that Val Demings, who's the Democrat who's running for Senate, she had a lot of money behind her in the primaries, and she had very high-end commercials that were done by the National Democrat Party. And looking at the graphics and the style of the ads, Val Demings' television ads, she's a very radical Democrat, but they looked like the same person that did AOC's ads in her first run were doing the campaign ads for Val Demings. And I'd said that in the last few weeks, I've talked about this several times, both on the radio and here on the podcast, that Val Demings commercials have all but dried up. During the primary, you would turn on television and there'd be a Val Demings for Senate commercial in every single break. And they were very high-end, expensive commercials. And since then, you rarely see a commercial on television for her. And when you do, it's low budget. It looks like a staffer filmed it on their iPhone. Well, listen to this. This is amazing. This is being reported in Politico, and it's also being reported in the Gateway Pundit, okay? And I'm going to go to the Gateway Pundit first. Today, the news broke that Democrats are pulling out of the state of Florida. The state is lost, according to the Democrats. Now, again, the Democrats aren't going on the news and saying this. This is in private. They are going to put their money elsewhere. That's the Gateway Pundit. Politico, which is left-wing. I mean, Politico is left-wing as it gets. This is what Politico writes. National organizations and donors have all but abandoned their candidates in Florida, setting off fears that Florida is no longer viewed as competitive, which has dire implications for the next presidential election, of course, in 2024. Florida Democrats are bracing for a very bad night on November 8th. Less than 2 weeks before the election, Democrats are signaling that key races are slipping away from them. They point to signs and missed opportunities, including the party's message on abortion rights and gun control that is not resonating, and a lack of coordination between the campaigns of Val Demings, who's running for the Senate against Marco Rubio, and Charlie Crist, who's a former Republican governor who became a Democrat because he's a scumbag, Benedict Arnold, who's running for governor against Ron DeSantis. More worrisome for Democrats, national organizations and donors, remember this is liberal Politico, more worrisome for Democrats, national organizations and donors have all but abandoned their candidates, setting off fears that Florida is no longer viewed as competitive. And when they say that this would have dire implications for the next presidential election, let me tell you what that's about. You know, Florida has been a toss-up state, a battleground state, which means some elections it goes blue, some it goes red. And now Florida, based on this, has officially become a red state. You know, Florida, by the time we do the next census, very well may be the most populated state in America. We're certainly number 2 already, but we're going to be number 1 with more people than even California. This has huge implications, not just for 24, but 2028 and every election after that for a long time. And the reason that is because you have a state in Florida that went for Obama, it went for Clinton, now it's gone for Bush, and it's gone for Trump, but it goes back and forth. And it's a state that was undecided, and that's where the political parties make their plays. Most of the campaigns, on the national level, when it comes to presidential elections, are only run really in the battleground states, the toss-up states that go different ways in different elections. In Florida, where I'm living, and I've lived almost my entire life, has always been one of those swing states. Now that we have it in the red category, and because we're going to become the most populated state, that means we get more representation in the House of Representatives. California will lose. And we also get more representation in the Electoral College. So Florida not only is becoming a solid red, very reliable conservative state from now and till whenever, forever, we're also making some other gains for the Republicans in both House seats and the Electoral College. So this is historic. It's historic. And, I was talking earlier this week that this election is what I would consider to be the election of the sacrifice candidate. And you may have heard me talk about that. And I just explained to you quickly what that means is if you notice, they got a lot of losers running, the Democrats. I know you may say the Democrats are always losers, but the Democrats that are running right now are the worst of the worst. You've got a guy in Pennsylvania who's suffering from brain damage. You've got a guy here in Florida running for governor, Charlie Crist, who is just a weirdo in many different ways and a turncoat, and no one trusts him. You go around and you look at who the Democrats are running. They have freaks, geeks, and losers, people that don't mind losing. They don't have A-list players. They don't have their top-tier starters because someone that's a top-tier person doesn't want to lose. So they're not running their top people. They're running rejects that are willing to be sacrifice candidates, running campaigns that they know they are going to lose because they're nobodies. And even losing, if you're Fetterman and you lose in Pennsylvania, you've still been elevated a little bit because you're higher up than you were. You're well known. This guy, Charlie Crist, I think he's made a deal with Biden to make him ambassador of something or secretary of something so that he can feel like he's a somebody when this is all over. This is going to be the red tsunami of red tsunamis. This is going to be a defeat like we've never seen. And the Democrats pulling out of Florida, I've known this for a little while. I've talked about it, and now it's official because it's reported in liberal sources like Politico. So the Democrats are still on this attempt at a great divide between DeSantis and Trump. And if you noticed, they've been trying for really over a year to divide MAGA. They're trying to divide MAGA. They're trying to create a DeSantis camp, and they're trying to create a Trump camp. And they've been very unsuccessful in this. And I want to play a clip. This is Mika Brzezinski on MSNBC this morning, and she's talking about Trump and DeSantis. Listen.
DeSantis is in Donald Trump's way, and so Donald Trump will be a child and a bully and move him out of the way. If anyone thinks anything different, then they haven't been watching Donald Trump for the past 6 years. It's the way it goes. He is very, very, very scared of Ron DeSantis in that Ron DeSantis might actually do better than him in a 2024 presidential election, and that just scares Donald Trump because he wants to run again. Maybe, some might say, to get away from some legal woes. We'll see how it works out. We'll see what happens, to quote Trump. Still ahead this morning, there's a Trump.
Okay. This is their fantasy. So what's going on here is President Trump has announced a whole bunch of rallies because here we are. We're less than 2 weeks away from the midterm election day. He's announced a whole bunch of rallies in important places. He's doing one in Pennsylvania for Dr. Oz. And he's doing one in Miami, okay? And he did a rally in Miami before the last election. It was huge turnout. And if you remember, he won Miami, which is Miami-Dade County, which is very unusual. That's typically a Democrat county. But he's very specifically having a rally in Miami for Marco Rubio. And it's being billed as a rally for Marco Rubio. And what the MSNBC crowd, these liberal losers, are putting together with that, it's not a DeSantis rally. Oh, see, there's a divide. The never-Trumpers and the Democrats are always hoping for some scheme to come through that's going to stop Trump in 2024. They've done everything, right? The Russia hoax, all that thing. Stormy Daniels, you got a long list, right? All these phony accusers, all these different investigations, impeachments, and, the Attorney General in New York. That's just endless, right? So none of those have come through because Trump is a squeaky clean Marine. He's broken no laws, done nothing wrong. Now their new hope, which they're trying to manifest into a reality by talking about it endlessly, is that that President Trump, that Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis are at each other's throats. They can't stand each other. And this rally in Miami is proof of it because it's not a Ron DeSantis rally. It's a Marco Rubio rally. Well, let me tell you something. I expect Ron DeSantis to be there, but Marco Rubio, the reason it's for Marco Rubio is because he needs help. He is ahead of his opponent, Val Demings, in the polls, but not by much. Some polls 4, some polls say 7. And, Ron DeSantis, of course, is very, very popular, and we know he's going to come to victory. But a lot of conservatives are upset with Marco Rubio because Marco Rubio, during the first presidential campaign with President Trump, get very rude. He was talking about hand size, which is a reference to penis size. Remember all that about Trump? I mean, it was really juvenile and beneath a sitting United States senator. And Marco Rubio, who I've interviewed on this program, who I am voting for, and supporting and asking everyone I know to vote for Marco Rubio. He's grown up a lot. He's grown up a whole heck of a lot since then. But a lot of people still think of Marco Rubio back in the little Marco days. And President Trump is very specifically having a rally for Marco Rubio, not just to help him gain a stronger support in the polls against his Democrat opponent, Val Demings, but it's important for President Trump to let Florida MAGA Republicans know that he approves of Marco Rubio, that Marco Rubio is okay, that those terrible things and hand jokes and penis-sized jokes and all that stuff, small hands and all that was back in 2015, 2016. That was a long time ago. We've moved on. We're friends now. We're allies. I need Marco Rubio in the Senate. That's why there's a rally for Marco Rubio. DeSantis doesn't need a Trump rally right now. Trump already made DeSantis, and he is very popular. I do expect DeSantis to be there, but no. Marco Rubio needs help. Marco Rubio, back in those days, before 2015, was pro-amnesty. He's not anymore, but he was then, and he was very open and vocal about it. And a lot of people that are Republicans in Florida have not forgotten about the terrible things he said about President Trump and the amnesty positions of Marco Rubio. But we have to move on. President Trump has a mission, okay? It's not just to win these seats. He's very specific about why he is supporting people that otherwise you may not like J.D. Vance in Ohio, okay? Dr. Oz, a lot of people have problems with Dr. Oz. I believe that Donald Trump is making a very strong move to remove Mitch McConnell as the Republican leader in the Senate. We're going to take back the Senate. It's going to be a Republican majority, but what good is that Republican majority with Mitch McConnell, who's a Chinese spy, okay? Everybody knows this. He betrayed Trump. He continues to betray Trump, and he'll do it every chance he gets. He wants to get Mitch McConnell removed as the Republican leader of the Senate. Now, so what he's doing is he's backing people that he may not agree with on everything or had problems with, like Marco Rubio or J.D. Vance, with assurances from them that they get his support in exchange for not supporting Mitch McConnell being the Republican leader in the Senate, which would mean he would be the majority leader after the midterms. Now, he may not have enough support in the Senate, depending on how many MAGA senators we get in there. This time, it may take till 2024. Remember, every 2 years, a third of the Senate, the whole House is up every 2 years, but every 2 years, a third of the Senate is up. So we're going to gain some seats this time, and then in 2024, another third of the Senate is up, and we'll gain more seats. So it may take 2 election cycles to remove Mitch as the Republican majority leader in the Senate. Maybe we'll have enough this time. I don't know. I hope we do. But that's what his goal is. So a lot of these little personal things, like with Marco and others, you got to move past that. And that's why President Trump is having a rally that is being billed as a Marco Rubio rally for Trump, or a Trump rally for Marco Rubio, because he wants Republicans here in Florida, MAGA Republicans like me and you guys, to know that Marco Rubio is okay now. Okay, he's no longer a never-Trumper, and all those things are forgotten. There's no divide with DeSantis and Trump. Now, I know Ron DeSantis is probably very frustrated because if Trump were in the White House right now, we'd be talking about him in 2 years being the nominee, but he's not in the White House right now. So it is not Ron DeSantis' turn. And, I follow Ron DeSantis regularly, and as I met him last weekend or the weekend. I guess it was, it'll be 2 weeks this weekend that I saw him. It was a couple Sundays ago. So this coming Sunday will be 2 weeks since I met our great governor, Ron DeSantis. I was wearing a shirt with his face on it. It was amazing. He's a very confident guy. Although it may be frustrating for him, I think he's cool with it. He will go on and get that nomination in 2028. He understands what the deal is, and that's what it is. There is no divide, and don't let any of these people tell you that. Do not allow them to divide MAGA. MAGA is united. There is a big picture here. The only problem the MAGA movement has is we have so many great people in our orbit, right? Like Carrie Lake, who's up and coming, right? Ron DeSantis, Kristi Noem. There are many others. Herschel Walker, who I'm going to talk about after the break. What they're doing with Herschel Walker is just disgusting. We've got to talk about it, and we've got to talk about more things too. But first, we're going to take a break. I'm Brian Craig. This, of course, is the Brian Craig Show podcast. Sadly, not joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Kathy is fine. She's been home from the hospital for a couple of days now, but she's still recovering. So she can't have the stress of the news and the politics and the podcast and all of that stuff while she's recovering. But when she recovers a little bit more, she'll rejoin us on the podcast. I don't want to put a time frame on it because I want to make sure she gets well before she rejoins us. Make sure that you follow on whatever platform you're listening to the program on, by the way. The Brian Craig Show podcast is on all podcast platforms, including Spotify. And you can also follow me on YouTube. Brian Craig, just search Brian Craig or Brian Craig Show on YouTube. I upload the podcast there as well. Now, I want to take a moment to thank all of our Patreon supporters for their support of the program. Thank you so much, everyone. And if you would like to support the show, a great way to do that is to become a Patreon supporter. There are perks to becoming a Patreon supporter. You can find a link to my Patreon page in the description of this and every episode. And there's also a link on my website, briancraigshow.com. Our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout-out on each and every episode of the program. So the names you will hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, Gary, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Rick, Nick, Wesley, Macho, and Rome, Wisconsin. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you so much, everyone, for your support. All right, listen, we're going to take that break, come back, and there's a lot more to talk about. Don't go anywhere.
It's the end of World War I, but for Roland, conflict runs deeper. History fiction lovers won't want to miss The Ending from author William Stephen Frank. Available on Amazon. Roland has dedicated his life to seeking peace in the wake of World War I. At the Treaty of Versailles, he meets Jonathan, a man who believes he's the heir to a long-lost line named Vianden, making him the owner of the castle Vianden and its surrounding village in Luxembourg. Follow his story where the pursuit of peace meets the pursuit of vengeance. Vianden, a 20th century historical fiction novel from author William Stephen Frank. Available in Kindle, paperback, and audiobook. Order your copy today on Amazon. Want to know where all the bodies are buried? Author Robert Allen Miltenberg holds the key to that question in his book, Pool Boy to the Mob, Everybody Out of the Pool. Author Robert Allen Miltenberg holds the key to that question in his book, Pool Boy to the Mob. Welcome to Mob-Ammy Beach. This book is a fictionalized account of Miltenberg working at a mob-owned Miami Beach hotel in the 70s. If you're a fan of The Godfather, Goodfellas, or The Sopranos, you will love this story that's full of colorful characters and wisecracking wise guys. It's a story with everything from Playboy bunnies and weaponized parrots to shattering the glass ceiling and getting away with murder, all in paradise. This is a wise guy tale you've never heard. Surrounded by pools, the trick for Bobby Moskowitz was not slipping in the one thicker than water. Bobby lived to tell the tales, and now you can read all about it. The funniest mob novel since Jimmy Breslin's The Gang That Couldn't Shoot Straight. Pool Boy to the Mob, Everybody Out of the Pool, from author Robert Allen Miltenberg. Available on Amazon. Order your copy right now. Are you tired of being single? Do you see happy couples and wish you had a hand to hold? Does the idea of being in a relationship seem out of reach? If you answered yes to any of those questions, it's time for you to grab a copy of Say What You Mean from author John Beauvais, available on Amazon. There's a person out there that you deserve. You just have to find them. Say What You Mean is an instruction manual of the do's and don'ts that you need to know to change your status from single to in a relationship. You'll also find great tips that'll help you on all the dating apps. Stop wondering if you're going to find the right person and grab your copy of Say What You Mean from author John Beauvais, available in Kindle and paperback on Amazon. Treat your skin to some pampering and grab the hottest beauty products from Blue Wave Cosmetics. Take a look at their wide selection of beauty and skincare products, including makeup brushes, eyeshadow palettes, lip glosses, and face masks. Give your special someone the gift of some TLC by sending them an e-gift card to Blue Wave Cosmetics. All U.S. residents receive fast, free shipping. Find them on Instagram at Blue Wave Cosmetics _official. BlueWaveCosmetics.com. Start shopping right now.
You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, and we got a lot more to get into here. I want to talk about this business with Herschel Walker, okay? So they got a second woman that came forward at a press conference with Gloria Allred, who says that Herschel Walker drove her, this was in the early 90s, drove her to get an abortion and waited in the car for hours while she got the abortion. And, of course, this is Jane Doe number 2. You know, listen, since when do people accuse others of terrible, horrendous things and get to be in the this cloak of darkness, like they're a Klansman in a hood? I'm not saying they're the Klan, but the Ku Klux Klan wore hoods, which made them extra cowardly during their attacks and terrorism because people couldn't see their faces. And I really don't have respect for people making these terrible accusations against people and hiding their identity. If it happened, come forward. Say, this is me and this is what happened. But I want to say a couple things about it. First off, I do not believe either of these women. I don't believe them. I just don't. Okay? And I see no evidence that anything that they've said about these abortions and Herschel Walker is true. I think most of you agree with me on that. But I think most of us, without question, agree that so what? What is the relevance of that today? Now, of course, they think that this exposes this huge hypocrisy and Republicans are going to run away because he paid for these abortions, which I don't believe. But if they'll make us think he did, and we won't support him anymore. This is a different Republican Party. This is not the Republican Party of the 80s and 90s, where we shoot ourselves in the foot and take these high holy standards that cost us elections. There's something bigger here. It's the control of not just the United States Senate, but the direction of this country for decades to come by having MAGA Republicans take over the majority in both houses of Congress. And Republicans are not going to drop Herschel Walker over these stories that are not credible and allow that Senate seat to be taken over by a Democrat who's got a lot of problems. But one of the problems is he wants everybody to have abortions all the time and have us pay for it. So give me a break, okay? But just for the discussion, let's say these Herschel Walker allegations from these women are true. I don't believe them, but let's just say they are for the point here. I don't care. And I'm as pro-life as it gets, okay? These things happened, we're talking 30 years ago. 30 years ago. You know, people change. It is not relevant today. Now, if he was taking women in secret right now to have abortions and things like that, and there was proof of it, then I'd be a little more interested. But even then I'd say, well, wait a minute. Are we going to allow a Democrat to hold that seat? I don't think so. So no, this goes to show you how the Democrats have lost complete touch with the pulse of what's going on in this country. You know, in the last segment, when I was talking about the Democrats pulling out of Florida, Politico in their article had said that they've had these positions on guns and abortion that are not resonating with people. The Democrat Party is being run by a bunch of old fogies that are men and women from another time, and they don't understand what's going on here. And this story with Herschel Walker, I think it helps him. I think it makes MAGA Republicans want to come out and support him even more. Now, I pulled up the story on the second woman accusing Herschel Walker in, let's see here, this is in, it's on NPR, National Public Radio. So, yeah, I know it's liberal, but sometimes I like reading what the liberals are saying. So let me read this from NPR. I've not read this story yet. Just the headline. It says here, second woman says Georgia Republican Senate candidate Herschel Walker paid for an abortion. Now, another thing about this, this happened in '93 when he was with the Dallas Cowboys. When football groupie girls get pregnant by professional athletes at that level, whether it's basketball, football, they don't have abortions. They have the baby, because if they have the baby, they get 18 years of support from this wealthy pro athlete. Don't you get it? So, anyway, let's read the story. This is in NPR website, npr.org, National Liberal Public Radio. A second woman is accusing Georgia Senate nominee Herschel Walker of pressuring her into having an abortion, calling the Republican a hypocrite for campaigning against abortion access while allegedly pushing her to get one in 1993. Now, Herschel's denied all this. I believe Herschel. Herschel Walker is a hypocrite, and he's not fit to be a U.S. senator, says an anonymous woman who went by the name Jane Doe in a Wednesday press conference. We don't need people in the U.S. Senate who profess one thing and do another. 30 years ago? The woman is declining to share her identity out of safety concerns, according to her attorney, Gloria Allred. Well, anyone that Gloria Allred is representing is questionable, and came forward after hearing Walker deny allegations from another woman who said he paid for her to have an abortion. NPR has not been able to independently corroborate either woman's claims. I love how the national press say they can't back up any of these claims. They can't source the claims, but it doesn't stop them, even though there's no evidence of it, even though they can't find any sourcing to back up the allegations. It doesn't stop them from reporting it, does it? Jane Doe, this is the second woman, said she had an affair with Walker. Now, I can believe affairs, okay? This guy, it was 30 years ago. He was a professional athlete. That's what these guys do, right? Jane Doe said she had an affair with Walker while he was married to his first wife from 1987 until the alleged abortion in 1993, and claimed Herschel Walker drove her to an abortion clinic and paid for the procedure after she backed out of an initial attempt. I went to a clinic in Dallas, but I simply couldn't go through with it, the woman said. I left the clinic in tears. When I told Herschel what had happened, he was upset and said he was going to go back with me to the clinic the next day for me to have the abortion. The woman who said she's a registered independent but voted for Donald Trump in 2016 and 2020 said she was motivated to speak after seeing Walker deny allegations made in a series of stories by the Daily Beast that he pressured then-girlfriend to have 2 abortions. She says, I saw him state the woman's claims were not true because he never signed any cards using the letter H. I knew that was not true because he often signed letters to me using H. During a press conference, Allred shared several items that Jane Doe had from her relationship with Herschel, including a photo of Walker in her hotel room while he was at a training camp in Minnesota, letters from Walker to the woman and her parents, and an alleged voicemail Walker left while in France for the 1992 Winter Olympics. So this is interesting. So this woman has a voicemail that is 30 years old. How does that happen? How do you keep a voicemail from 30 years ago? 30 years ago, 1992, we didn't have voicemails. We had answering machines on cassette tapes. And where do you play? And some of those answering machines had those little tiny micro cassettes. How do you keep those? I have over the years kept hundreds and hundreds of cassette tapes of radio shows I've done and interviews and things. They don't last. You have to keep transferring them. It's very difficult. How do they have these cassette tapes from 30 years ago? What I can do is I'm trying to call you back while I'm here, but I have to call you earlier in the morning because it's late at night, Walker allegedly says in a voicemail recording, but I keep trying to call you. I want to say I love you. Well, where's the part about the abortion? Walker has continued to deny any claim and all claims he paid for an abortion, including on the campaign trail yesterday, just before the second woman's allegations became public. Herschel Walker says, guys, I'm done with this foolishness. I've already told people this is a lie. South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham, who's campaigned with Walker and is one of several Senate Republicans who have made the trek to Georgia to help him, attacked Gloria Allred and tried to downplay the accusations. Lindsey Graham said, people here are not going to tolerate it. There's going to be a backlash in Georgia, Lindsey Graham said. This is coming from L.A. It's coming from an activist Democratic celebrity lawyer who went to the 2016 convention with Hillary Clinton. And people in Georgia are not this dumb. Well, that's true. That's true. I haven't seen anything here about any GoFundMes yet for these Jane Does. Walker's blanket denial of ever paying for an abortion comes as the first-time candidate sought to walk back his hardline stance on abortion. It goes on and on. I think Herschel's going to win it. He's a few points ahead, not as many as I'd like, but I think he's going to win it. And like I said at the beginning of the segment, I think all of this helps Herschel Walker. You know, I'll tell you, it helps him for a number of reasons. From MAGA people in particular, it looks like what it is, fake news. And MAGA Republicans circle the wagons around our candidates and our office holders when the fake news start going out there and doing these character hit pieces on them, okay? Without any evidence. We have two women. Both of them have not shown us this proof that they keep talking about, that he paid for abortions, took them to abortions. The one says she has a receipt. Who buys that nonsense? Who keeps a receipt for 30 years? Do they even give receipts for abortions? I can't imagine they give receipts for abortions. So the MAGA Republicans are stronger around him, but this helps him actually with even black voters in Georgia. And how it helps him with black voters, you know, I've seen this happen with office holders who are African American. They have things happen in their life like this, and sometimes like really serious things. And black voters in the South do not like it when their people, their candidates, the people they support, or people they may not have supported, but people that they feel a connection to, like Herschel Walker, who's a household name in America. I mean, I don't even follow football, and I know Herschel Walker. It makes them a victim, and they rally behind them. So all of this is going to help Herschel Walker get to that final victory that we need him to get. But while that's going on, there's a story out of Michigan that will just blow your mind. Listen to this. Michigan Democrat nominee for state representative, Maurice Imhoff, wanted to carry out a school shooting of Northwest Middle School in Jackson, Michigan. He was arrested by the police before he could carry out the shooting and charged for threat of terrorism. In response to the public finding this out about his past, he did admit that he made some poor decisions when he was younger, but he is still on the ballot as a Democrat in Michigan. He made a fake attempt to quit campaigning after these crimes were uncovered earlier this month, but he has stayed in the race and he's still running. And the media have downplayed this and covered it up to the point where most people in Michigan probably don't even know this happened. And you know how Democrats are. They got a D next to their name. They are going to vote for him without even knowing this. This guy was planning to carry out a mass school shooting. The media covers for their fellow Democrat, I'm reading an article here, by saying he simply had a troubled past. The Detroit News said he had a challenging upbringing. So here you have the liberal media in Michigan excusing an attempted school shooter. The only reason he didn't carry out the school shooting is he got caught before he could do it. Stories confirming that the candidate, Maurice Imhoff, was charged with making a false report or threat of terrorism have gone dark. The media reports downplay child pornography allegations, revenge porn allegations, abuse allegations, details of his alleged crimes that he vaguely previously admitted to as described by a former girlfriend. That's on top, by the way. Those things there, the revenge porn, this child pornography, all this stuff. Boy, oh boy, that's on top of the busted for trying to, or busted planning a school shooting. The state's media double standard is egregious. This all came to light not through any reporting by the press, but because his former girlfriend put everything in a very lengthy Facebook post. In response, candidate Imhoff blames everyone but himself. In a letter, he blamed how he was raised, his socioeconomic status, his absent father figure, unnamed life challenges, being black, failing grades, his social circle, time, among other factors as to why he was not responsible for all these terrible things. Wow. He won't even deny the claims. He won't deny any of them either. Now, that's a serious thing, unlike the Herschel Walker, because this we have, first off, just terrible things, but we have evidence. This guy was arrested. He was charged. His girlfriend went public. She's not a Jane Doe, right? She's gone public and told us everything that he was involved in. So, that's much different than Herschel Walker, and there's a media blackout on this. Now, he's not running for U.S. Senate. He's at a state level race, but still, if we had a Republican running for state rep somewhere, you're telling me that if they were arrested because they were caught planning out a school shooting, that it wouldn't be national news? Of course it would. Of course it would. Democrats have a free pass to do whatever it is they want. It's not just Joe and Hunter Biden. All Democrats have a free pass to do crime, get arrested, do terrible things, and go on to have long political careers, right? And that was a precedent that was set by Ted Kennedy. And it continues today, even for nobodies like this guy in Michigan that no one's heard of. But this is what the Democrats are. They're low lives, okay? Low lives. All right, now listen, we're going to take a break. When we come back, there is more to talk about. Don't go anywhere. I'm Brian Craig. We'll be back right after this.
Are you searching for the best men's skincare? Shop naturally sourced and organic skincare products designed for men by visiting Veluxo.com. That's VALUXXO. Every human deserves to feel great in their own skin. Veluxo.com provides top quality men's skincare with pure, natural, organic ingredients. Skincare is a vital part of everyone's overall health and well-being. Enjoy products with authentic ingredients and feel the results of hydrated, radiant, and revitalized skin. You deserve skincare products that complement your authentic self. Live better and feel happier by taking care of your skin. Veluxo.com promises luxurious skincare without compromises. Treat yourself or give the perfect gift to a man in your life. Visit Veluxo.com. That's VALUXXO. Veluxo Skincare. Love your image. Love your skin. Veluxo.com. Psychological fiction and horror fans, you won't want to miss the haunting stories from the book Sun, Moon, and Three Less Stars from author Khalees, available on Amazon. Sun, Moon, and Three Less Stars features 3 short thriller stories in a screenplay graphic novel format. Experience the thrill in an exciting new way by reading and seeing the stories unfold. Your eyes will be glued to the page. Head to Amazon right now and order your copy of Sun, Moon, and Three Less Stars by author Khalees. Are you ready to go to the next level as a fundraiser? Mastering fundraising or sales techniques can feel overwhelming. Don't take it on alone. Check out The Boardroom Playbook, the not-so-ordinary guide to corporate funding for your purpose-driven organization by author and corporate sponsorship authority, Lori Zoss Kraska. Armed with 22 years of experience in corporate sponsorship support, corporate calls marketing, and corporate fundraising, Lori has packed her insight into a deep-dive playbook. She guides you to fine-tune all aspects of your fundraising or sales techniques so they resonate with the highest level corporate decision makers. Smash your fundraising goals. The Boardroom Playbook is an invaluable resource to master the alignment of your mind, your message, and your motion to set yourself apart from other fundraisers. Available in Kindle and paperback on Amazon. The Boardroom Playbook by author Lori Zoss Kraska. Order your copy right now. Get ready for a compelling story about life-changing experiences, unique discoveries, kindness, and mystical visions. Authors Faye and George Chamberlain bring you Connections Past, an inspirational mythic thriller. If you enjoy page-turning action and adventures, this is a book you will not be able to put down. It will take you on an exciting and thought-provoking journey. Could acts of kindness make this world a better place? 26 years after her mother's death, Geneva finds herself on a journey to fulfill her mother's prophecy. Along the way, she meets improbable allies and is drawn into unknown realms. What follows is a mythic thrill ride of twists, turns, and self-discovery. Available in Kindle, paperback, and hardcover editions. Connections Past from authors Faye and George Chamberlain. Order your copy right now on Amazon or visit the author's website, chamberlainbooks.com.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. Brian Craig here with you. Oops, I almost dropped my microphone. I just grabbed it. All right, and right before it was going to hit the floor. Well, I was just looking over the latest polls, and this is really amazing. Looking at these polls, it is blowing my mind at what I'm seeing here. Now, I'm not a big poll guy. I don't follow polls, but when we're this close, you got to look at them. And, you know, as biased as the polls are, when you get closer to an election, the polling organizations, they want to have some consistency. They want to have some accuracy because these polling organizations do make a living out of polling. And if they're way out of whack, they lose credibility. And I want to go through these polls. And what's amazing is the Republicans are up in almost every poll everywhere. And this is really very unusual. It really, truly is. And I know they say, and there's truth to this, that whatever party is in the White House, the opposing party always gains in the midterms. While that may be true, this is an overwhelming blue flush, red tsunami like you could not imagine. Now, we were just talking about Herschel Walker. This is a poll, came out today, the latest poll out of Georgia. Look at this. Walker versus Warnock. Herschel Walker is up 5 points in the latest Rasmussen. 5 points. I want you to think about this. They've had, about a month of just these slanderous attacks. And like I told you in the last segment, it's helping him. Herschel Walker. Walker is up 5 points in the latest poll out of Georgia. Kemp versus Abrams. I know a lot of people got problems with Kemp. I'm with you. I get it. But Kemp, he is up by 10. The Republican is 2 points up in the Oregon governor's race. And this is amazing because Oregon, this is something we normally wouldn't watch as Republicans. And the fact that we've got in Oregon, in the latest polls, this is a Trafalgar poll, we've got the Republican up 2 points is amazing. It's absolutely amazing, unheard of, and something that you wouldn't have thought was even possible. The Senate race in Ohio, J.D. Vance is up 5 points. Isn't that something? In the Ohio governor's race, the Republican is up 21 points. In Connecticut, the Republican is up by a point. And Biden's disapproval ratings are up in all the polls, right? Rasmussen has Biden's job approval up 8 points. USA Today's poll has Biden's job approval, or I'm sorry, did I say approval? I meant disapproval. Let me go back. I think I misspoke. Rasmussen has Biden's job approval down. His disapproval is up 8 points, not approval. Biden's job approval I'm getting confused, guys. I'm getting like Biden and Fetterman. I'm misspeaking. Biden's disapproval, according to the latest Rasmussen, is up 8 points. His disapproval in the USA Today poll is up 9 points. And Biden's disapproval in the Insider poll is up 10 points. So every single poll has Biden's disapproval up 8, 9, and 10 points. That is amazing. The generic congressional vote has Republicans up 4 points in the latest poll. The direction of the country, USA Today, on the wrong track is up 4 points. And the wrong track means that's anti-Biden. In Arizona, Kari Lake is up 11 points. Now, here's the first positive news, although within the margin of error, but the first positive news for Democrats, the first blue I've seen. I'm looking at the Real Clear Politics polling, by the way. Arizona Senate, the Democrat Kelly is up 2 points over Blake Masters, which I really don't get, because if Kari Lake is up 11, that should translate to more support for Blake Masters, but it's not. But she's up by 11 points. Here in Florida, there's 2 new polls out, involving Marco Rubio. In the Data for Progress poll, Marco Rubio is 7 points up in the poll. In the University of North Florida poll, Marco Rubio is up 11 points in their latest poll against the Democrat, Val Demings. And I just saw Ron DeSantis. Hold on. Ron DeSantis, I just lost it. I hate when the internet just decides to refresh on its own. Okay, in the governor's poll, Ron DeSantis is up 12 points. That's since the debate that he had with the Democrat opponent, Charlie Crist. So that's huge. Here's another poll here in Florida that has DeSantis up 14 points since the governor's debate. In Wisconsin Senate race, the Republican is up 5 points. In the Wisconsin governor's race, the Republican is up a point. Let's see, what else do we have here? Nevada Governor Lombardo is up a point. North Carolina Senate, Bud, the Republican, is up 4. New Hampshire's governor's race, Sununu, is up 13. Whitmer in Michigan is up 6 against Tudor Dixon. I feel bad for you guys in Michigan, but I don't know how you can allow that to happen. Now, this is one that's really tells you how stupid Democrats are. In Connecticut, Blumenthal is up 13 points. I mean, that's just insane. In South Dakota's governor's race, Kristi Noem is up 19 points. So those are all the latest polls, and they look pretty good, don't they? They do. I mean, they just look great. Now, you know, when we have the blue flush, the Democrats are going to just, you know, have complete meltdowns because they don't want to give Trump the victory, right? They're going to try to find a way to take the victory away from the man who's responsible, and that's Trump. So what they're going to do is they're going to highlight any Republican not backed by Trump who won. They're going to make a big deal out of that. They're going to become a big fan of Republicans who won that were not backed by Trump, and anyone that he endorsed that doesn't win, they're going to pounce on that too. I mean, and the chances of him winning every single race, I mean, you know, there's slim to none. So they're going to overhype things, but because they're desperate to have some story to tell themselves. But when it's all over, this one is going to be a big one, and it's going to be a big one like we've not seen in a long, long time. This is going to be bigger than when the Republicans had the Republican Revolution with Newt Gingrich and Bob Dole back in '94. It's going to be bigger than that, and it's more meaningful than that. You know, it really is. And this is what we've done. I mean, you know, if you're a MAGA Republican, you should be so excited because you are part of history. I mean, how many? What do you think about this now? How many conservative movements have there been? I know they talk about like the Reagan Revolution. It wasn't like this. It was not like this. There has not been a Republican movement, a conservative movement in the United States like this before, and it's because of you guys out there listening to me, and all of us out there who have supported President Trump, the MAGA movement, and great MAGA candidates. This is a historic movement of where the people are taking their country back from who? The donors and the political establishment and the media. And, you know, I was reading a story today that the new head of CNN is telling employees that he's really going to start cracking down and make changes at CNN. The brand of CNN, the brand of news is so damaged, it is beyond repair. You know, I recently had just gotten so disillusioned with Newsmax. I was so upset when I heard Stitchfield talk about how they were making him promote the war in Ukraine on Ukraine's side as opposed to the United States staying neutral in that conflict with Russia and Ukraine. Russia and Ukraine, I consider that a civil war. I know they're their own independent country, but they haven't been their own independent country all that long, a few decades, but they were part of Russia for a long, long time, part of the Soviet Union. And it's a conflict that we should have nothing to do with. But the problem is that these political establishment people are stealing the money that's being passed by Congress for Ukraine relief. I'd like to know, of all the billions that they've passed to help Ukraine, how much of it actually made it to Ukraine, right? How much of it went to their earmarks, to their donors, to themselves, to their relatives? And of that went to Ukraine, how much of it are in Swiss and Cayman bank accounts with Zelensky's name on them? We'll never know. But I do know this, that the brand news is so damaged that it is beyond repair. CNN cannot be repaired at all. I mean, they're just absolutely 100% done. Now, I do want to talk here, though, before the end of the show about Elon taking over Twitter. And, this has been going on so long now. I lost hope. I lost interest. I lost everything, right? And I hope those of you that stopped using Twitter, did not delete your accounts, go back on Twitter, because this is going to be a really amazing thing to watch. When Elon Musk takes over Twitter, what's he going to do? Right? Still people believe, I did an informal poll in my chat room on YouTube Live this morning, and everyone believes that a minimum of 60% of the activity on Twitter are bots. And the thing about Twitter has been a very powerful force the last few years, right? It's influenced everything, including the financial markets. Everything, that it just has. And it's been fake. It's been artificial. A lot of crimes have been committed by very low-level people inside of Twitter who have decided what's going to be popular, what's going to be tweeted and retweeted, what's going to be trending, who's going to be banned, who's going to be shadow banned. That's how it goes. So there was a guest on Tucker Carlson last night who said that Elon Musk is going to be considered a domestic enemy by the DC establishment if he does any of the things that he's talked about doing and hinted to with Twitter, purging the bots. Twitter has been a tool of the propagandist of our government for years now. Years. And they're losing that tool. And if it becomes an honest, free place for free speech and free expression, and they no longer can use it to influence whatever it is they're trying to influence in our lives, in our society, in our country, in our world, they are going to look at him as a domestic enemy. But then they'll probably try to pick up some other platform and try to turn it into what Twitter became. But Truth Social, obviously President Trump's social media platform has taken a lot of the excitement over the Elon Musk takeover of Twitter. But I think there's room for both. I think both of them can operate and be very popular. And Elon Musk is a very smart guy. And I'm sure he has plans to take Twitter off into directions that none of us have ever imagined. He's not the richest African American because he's not brilliant, okay? He is a very brilliant man, and he is really going to expose a lot of the things that are going on. The thing that I want to know most, well, I don't know most, but the thing I want to know first is I want to know the details of what led up to President Trump being banned from the platform. But Jack Posobiec, a few months ago, when the talk of Elon Musk taking over Twitter was new, he had an interesting idea. He thought, and I think Elon may have even talked about this, but Jack Posobiec was talking about how people should have the ability to go and look into their files on Twitter to see how they were handled by the platform, if they were shadow banned and things like this, right, or throttled down. I think that would be fascinating. I would very much like to see that myself. And I know a lot of you out there, like myself, believe that we've been victims of these left-wingers that have been running Twitter. And there's no doubt that's all true. I'm really hoping that he does a bot purge. A bot purge would be fantastic. That's probably the first thing major that needs to be done. But the powers that be are not going to sit back and just let this guy take over this important tool that they have used for their propaganda for the last several years and just say, oh, okay, Elon Musk owns Twitter now. He's going to really be going up against some very, very serious people. And even as brilliant as he is and as wealthy as he is, he may find himself very much challenged by these guys, okay? In a way that, maybe he won't be able to win in the end. I think he will. But it looks like he's finally going to be taking Twitter and taking that power away from them. But like I said, they'll find another way. They'll find another way. I mean, look what they're doing with Tulsi Gabbard. Here's Tulsi Gabbard running around endorsing all these MAGA people. I don't believe Tulsi Gabbard still. I still think she is a spy for the establishment, for the left. I think she's going to run as an independent in 2024, try to take votes away from Trump, and she will. A lot of Republicans will vote for her. I don't get it. She's one of the tools they're using. They'll find another platform. What it is, I don't know, but they'll find another platform to spew their propaganda. What that platform is, it could be, I don't know, but they'll do it. Okay. Twitter didn't become powerful and influential on its own. It had the backing of these very powerful, nasty people that have been working against President Trump all these years. So they're not just going to say, oh, it's over. They'll continue their work somewhere else. But there certainly is a lot to be revealed, a lot of secrets to be revealed with Elon Musk having open to him all the files of Twitter. And that is going to be a beautiful thing. Now, listen, make sure that you follow and subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to us on. You know, the Brian Craig Show podcast, which was named the number 3 must-listen to conservative podcast in America. Number 1 was Mark Levin. Number 2 was Glenn Beck's The Blaze. Number 3, the Brian Craig Show podcast. We're on all podcast platforms, all podcast platforms. If there is a podcast platform, this program is on it. And I also upload the podcast to my YouTube channel. Just search Brian Craig or Brian Craig Show on YouTube and follow my YouTube channel there. And Kathy, hopefully will be back soon. She is still recovering from her surgery and from her hospital stay. She was in the hospital basically a week, plus she had an operation, which was pretty intense, and she really needs her rest. So I can't have her on the podcast and following the news and getting worked up while she's recovering. So I'll be here flying solo with you until she is all well. All right, everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Brian Craig. Hopefully joined very soon by my wife and co-host on the program. She's here. She's in the other room. I'm in the podcast studio. She's in the bedroom resting as I speak right now. And I will talk to you next time.
Have you struggled budgeting your finances? Don't worry, you're not alone. HumbledBudget.com is the help and resource you've been searching for. HumbledBudget.com is a personal finance and educational website with a great variety of topics when it comes to budgeting, taxes, investing, and the popular topic of FIRE, financial independence, retire early. HumbledBudget.com has a goal, and that's to help you reach your financial dreams, no matter what your goals are when it comes to finances. It doesn't matter where you start, where you come from, or where you are right now. HumbledBudget.com can help. What are you waiting for? Take that first step to the financial life you've dreamed of and go to HumbledBudget.com. That's HumbledBudget.com.